It's been the best decision, single best decision I've made in my career, really short of getting married to Joe and having my kids in my life. And if it wasn't, I would have bounced back. Like totally said, hey, if it doesn't work, I'll go open my own brokerage tomorrow. It's no big deal. But
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tech Tuesday. Today we have a very special guest, Marguerite Crespillo, someone that I've looked up to for a long time, and somebody who's got probably one of the most giving hearts that I've ever met. And she does it out of love. And I think that's what I love about her most, aside from all her accomplishments and everything that she's been through. So I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to start off this morning welcoming everybody. And secondly, Marguerite, I'm going to have you start off. And if you could briefly do a 5-minute of Reader's Digest version of kind of your life and how we ended up here. And then we'll go ahead and answer some further questions. So love you, babe. Marguerite, you're on.
Thank you. Thank you. 5 minutes, huh? Okay, let's see. So thank you all for joining me and being here today. I'm excited to be here for Frank. Anything he asks, I'm more than willing to do. He's an amazing human being, and one of my very good friends. So I just on December 23rd celebrated 30 years in real estate. Yeah, big 30, right? And it's pretty exciting and a little I look back on it and how life has changed during that time, how the industry has changed, how my life has changed. I was blessed to have raised all my kids in this real estate industry and have a relationship with them still, right? Which is kind of a key, because it seems like a lot of kids that have parents who are real estate agents kind of become orphans, so to speak. Parents are working 24/7, not paying attention to them. So I've been in real estate for 30 years. I've closed over 4,000 real estate transactions. Now, I don't say that to brag. I just say I got a lot of street credit. I've done a ton of business in every kind of market, right? Every single kind of market. I mean, I've done the great markets back in the early 2000s to the really, really bad markets in the 2008 to 2010. Then, the market's starting to rise back up. And now we've gone through some challenges again. And what I do know about this crazy industry that we're in is a quote that I created and developed, my favorite quote, that says, you get paid in direct proportion to your ability to figure stuff out. Okay. And that means that when things change, when markets shift, when stuff happens differently, you have to adjust. You have to make changes. You have to figure out what is the next direction to go. Like I remember it was August of 2005. I put a house on the market, and 2 weeks later it was crickets. Like nothing. There was no activity, no showing, no nothing. Right. And prior to that, things were like they have been the last couple of years. Crazy market, multiple offers, things going like insane, lines around houses, the whole bit. So when 2 weeks went by and I had no interest, no offers, no showings, I thought, wow, the winds have changed. Something has happened. Now, I had no idea to the extent of what was going to happen in the market, right? Nothing. I didn't know. And for all those people who say, oh, yeah, we knew it was going to crash, they're lying. They're full of it. They didn't know. But what I did figure out was that I had to start looking at things a little differently. I started getting BPO requests and started seeing information about REOs and foreclosures. And I thought, I wonder what that looks like. And so I started looking into BPOs, and I remember somebody saying, oh, I'm not doing a BPO for $50. And I'm like, girl, that $50 is milk money for my kids, right? Like, I'll do whatever I have to do to take care of my family. And started hustling, started figuring out how I could do BPOs. Next thing you know, we were doing 400 to 500 BPOs a month. I set up a system, developed a team, because I had a family to feed, right? And I had to figure out what I could possibly do to continue to bring income in. So then that was a great ride. We get all this REO. Where did a lot of that REO came from? It came from doing bazillion BPOs and reaching out to relationships with people that I had known around the country and that my husband Joe knew, who was in the mortgage business. And those relationships are so incredibly valuable. And you need to understand how valuable those relationships are even today, right? And how that can change and transition your life on a dime. I'm going to tell you kind of a weird story, and this doesn't sound like it's going to make sense, but hopefully it'll make sense. because I saw somewhere on something here today, I saw the word Maserati. And here's the funny thing. So my son was 14 years old and he was going through that kind of like thought he was all that in a bag of chips. And he thought he could like, talk to his mom in a way that was not the way you would talk to an Italian mother. And he was getting really overconfident and he got in some trouble. And I said, okay, John, we're going to go on a field trip today. So we hopped in the car. I took him down to Sacramento to the the homeless camps and the food places, what's it called down there? Loaves and Fishes. And I took him down there and I said, yeah, we're going to do some work today. So go in, we get into the food kitchen, we're helping. He's standing around, he's looking at all, his eyes are getting huge, huge. He's looking at all these people. He's like, oh my God, Mom, how did these people get here like this? And I said, it's all about choices, John. It's the choices that you make every day and what you do. He's like, I don't ever want my life to be like this. And I said, well, then you need to seriously think about the choices that you're making every day, right? So we leave there, and on the way home, we drive down Fulton Avenue and we drive past the Maserati dealership. And I'm like, John, let's go for a test drive. He's like, what? So we pull into the Maserati dealership and I go and I talk to the salesman privately. I'm like, hey, I'm teaching my son a lesson. I'd like to take one of the cars for a test drive. He's like, sure. So we take a Maserati out on a test drive. And my son is again wide-eyed. He's like, oh my gosh, how do I get a car like this? How do I do something like this? I'm like, it's all about the choices you make, John. You can either choose to be in the homeless camp or you can choose to be driving a Maserati. The choice at the end of the day is yours. And so as we're kind of going through some changes and shifts in this market, right? Here's what I do know. Life happens to you by choice or by force, one of the two. So you can either choose to change the way you look at things. You can choose to change the activities that you do every day. You can choose to rise up, get dressed up, do your hair, brush your hair if you need to, take a shower, make appointments. You can choose to do that, or life will happen to you by force, which means God or universe, whatever you believe in, he goes, hey, hello, go this way. And if you don't listen, he gets louder and he gets louder and he gets louder. And then pretty soon he hits you with a brick in the face. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, was I supposed to do something? Like, yeah, y'all weren't listening when the whispers were happening, right? So my little story about John always reminds me to really look at life in a way that your life is possible by design. For those of you who know Casey, she is always writing about life by design, right? And that how you choose to live your life. And I'm so inspired by her lately because for any of you who knew Rick Jiha, amazing human being, one of my favorite people on the planet, passed away last October. And I've watched her really rise out of this. And imagine losing, the love of your life that she had, had this whole life planned around. And she's come out of it so inspiring and so positive. And so I guess my point, I don't really have a point. I don't even know what I was going to talk about today. But my point is that you choose every moment and every day how you want to rise up. You choose every moment and every day how you want your life to be and what you want it to look like. And if your life is not the way that you want it right now, if you're going through challenging times, and trust me, we all are. We all have stuff we're dealing with, right? We all have, I have a son and a grandson we're having custody battles with. I have a son in San Diego who, of all places, had random flash floods last week. Random flash floods in San Diego. And his car got flooded. And as opposed to just the old days where you could dry out a car, now the cars have all this electrical stuff. So they are going to total his car. So, you have all these little things that you're dealing with in life. And I even had yesterday was a Monday, right? Like it was the Monday of all Mondays. It was a rough Monday. And at the end of the day, I sat down and I pulled out my book and I pulled out my journal and I just sat down and I started to write. And I started to really remember all the things that I am grateful for, right? And how incredibly blessed I am amongst all the crap that's happening in your life. Like, what is all that stuff that happens in your life? It's really just speed bumps. And if you look at it like this, like you're driving down the road and you're driving down a back road and it's a beautiful day and the sun's shining, birds are chirping, flowers are in bloom, and all of a sudden you hit a speed bump. And you have a choice right there at that speed bump, don't you? You can either drive over it and continue to enjoy the day, or you can let it stop you and you can get sad and depressed and, oh my God, I have the worst life ever. I have this or this or that, right? Like, or you just keep going. You get over the speed bump. It's simply a speed bump. That's all it is. And it helps you to keep moving forward and to move on with the rest of your day and the beauty of your day. So I try to look at these things as speed bumps in life, just little speed bumps. You just got it. Some speed bumps are a little bigger than others. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, can I let it destroy me and ruin me? No, because there's so many people counting on me, right? Your family, your friends, the people that you care about, people that are looking up to you that you don't even know are looking up to you. And you're probably thinking, well, nobody's looking up to me. They are. And you don't realize even your children are watching you. They're watching everything you do. Like my son, Jake, last night, we're sitting at the dinner table and he's like, Mom, I think it's time. And I go, time for what, Jake? He goes, I think it's time we sit down and you show me like some stuff about business. Cause I know you've talked to me about it over the years, but I never listened. And I think that now I need to be listening and I need to understand how, the mechanics of business and stuff works. And I was like, oh, my heart exploded, right? Like you're telling your kids stuff for 28 years. They don't listen to diddly squat what you say. And then they show up one day and they're either repeating they're like repeating a quote you've said all the time, or they're, saying, oh, I want to learn this now. Like I have a stepson, Joey, and he's so funny. He lives out in El Paso, Texas. And he was my toughest stepchild, bonus child. I mean, him and I went round and round and round, right? And the funny story about him is he's the only one I ever smacked, and he swears to this day he deserved it times 10. But he was smart mouthing me at 15 years old, and he came running around the corner, and I just went, whack, and I laid him out in the hallway. So he calls me a couple of years ago, and he goes, hey, they call me Reet. My stepkids call me Reet. He goes, so remember, like, how difficult of a stepchild I was? And I said, oh yeah, I remember. He goes, can I apologize now because I have stepchildren? And he goes, and I was told that if I didn't apologize to you, they're going to continue to get worse. And I just had to laugh. I'm like, oh, it's all good, Joey, right?
Okay, Marguerite,
Yeah.
I thoroughly appreciate your stories because we can all relate. And trust me, folks who are listening, you don't even know the half of some of the struggles Marguerite has been through. Tell us how you got to EXP and what were you doing before?
So it's kind of crazy. My husband, Joe, and I started out in real estate doing loans back in 1993. Interest rates had dropped to an all-time low of 8%. We thought they were never going to get lower, right? And my husband was in the mortgage business. He said, hey, why don't you get your real estate license? You can do refis, right? Make some extra money. Because we'd had bars. We used to own bars and restaurants, and we'd gotten out of the bar business. And so I started doing loans. I did loans for about a year, and I hated it. And I had just had my son, Jake, the one I was mentioning, in February of 95. And I went to work as a part-time assistant for Luigi Caprio. If any of you know who Luigi. And he was doing REOs at the time, and I'd answer his phones would ring off the hook. I'd be like, what do I need to do? Luigi's like, well, go show him homes. I'm like, okay. I'd go show him homes. I'd come back. Back then we didn't have cell phones. And I'd say, they want to write an offer. He's like, I'll write an offer. Thank God contracts were only 4 pages then. And I'd write offers. I ended up selling 18 houses in my first 6 months. And I thought, I think I like this real estate gig, right? So like many young, overconfident, quickly successful people, the smart thing to do was to go open your own brokerage, right?
No.
Not the smart thing.
No.
So I opened my own brokerage in January of 1996. And we ran that company up until about 2014. We built it to 120 agents. By most people, that would be successful, except at the end of the day, when you pulled my personal production out of the equation, the brokerage was losing money. It was hemorrhaging money. And if, in a sense, I was paying to have a brokerage, to have a place for agents to come hang out and not sell and not work. So January of 2015, we decided to shut down that brokerage. We went back to being a small independent, just me and a few agents. And in October of 2016, I got a phone call from Brent Gove. And I'm like, what are you selling now, Brent? I'm at Disneyland. Give me a call next week, right? I was like, I'll poo-pooing it, right? So I get back from Disneyland a few days later. I get a phone call from Brent. Hey, you want to go to lunch? I'm like, where are you, Brent? He goes, I'm across the street. And I was like, all right. So went and had lunch with him. The entire hour he asked about me, Joe, what's going on in our life, how are things? Didn't say nothing about it. Finally, at the end, I'm like, okay, Brent, what is it you're selling? What are you doing? Right? And he goes, well, I really need your opinion. Can you be at my office tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock and bring Joe? I was like, oh my goodness. So we got up, we went the next day, 8 o'clock in the morning. He did live webinars back then with Rob Flick and sat down, listened to the webinar. About 15 minutes in, I looked at Joe, I was like, this makes sense. And it was the first time I had seen a model that made so much sense after having ran a brokerage that I thought we need to do this. Like I couldn't even imagine not doing it. So Joe and I finished watching, we went home. I went through all of that kind of, well, maybe I shouldn't do it. How am I going to tell the agents we're moving again? Right? Like I went through all this kind of stuff in my head. And at the end of the day, Joe and I decided we had to do what was best for us. Right? We had to look at first and foremost what was going to be best for us. So we made the decision in October of 2016 to join EXP. I will tell you, I've now been here 7.5 years. It's been the best decision, single best decision I've made in my career, really short of getting married to Joe and having my kids in my life. And if it wasn't, I would have bounced back. Like I totally said, hey, if it doesn't work, I'll go open my own brokerage tomorrow. It's no big deal. But it's proven over and over and over again that it's an extraordinary model. Not only are all the opportunities that you have here with stock, with revenue share, with all the other things that you have, but the collaboration over competition is off the hook. As a matter of fact, I just got invited today to come out and speak in Charlotte, North Carolina to the regional rallies. And I'm excited to do that. And so many agents and people in this company, leadership, everyone are willing to do the same thing for us. If we were having an event, we want them to come, whatever that looks like. It's pretty powerful. And I just haven't seen anything like it. The stock, when I first joined the company, I could care less about the stock. It was trading at like $1 or something a share. And we're like, okay, that's whatever. That sounds cool. Maybe retirement down the road. And then all of a sudden in 2020, when the stock started rising, I was able to earn stock awards for making Icon, for all the other reasons to make stock. And at the end of 2020, I had 32,000 shares of EXP stock. Well, that stock, because when we closed our brokerage, we were several $100,000 in debt. We didn't have any retirement. We had nothing. That stock allowed us to completely remodel our home, which we've dreamed about for 30 years. It allowed us to buy a home in San Diego with my son down there. It allowed us to do so many other things, help so many people. It allowed us just extraordinary opportunity. And I'm proud to say that, you know, after all these years, we have the beautiful home that we have loved. And all of that came from stock from EXP, from just doing what I was already doing. I wasn't doing anything extra. I was selling real estate. I was making Icon. And that's all I was doing. And I was getting awarded these stock awards that have changed my life. In addition to that, when we joined EXP, we brought 10 of our agents with us, and that's now turned into 500 and something, 500, I don't know what it is today, 536 agents around the country. I couldn't do that in my old brokerage. I had 120 agents in my brokerage, but just people in my own backyard. Now I have people in Arkansas and Arizona and Detroit and, you know, all over the place. And I never imagined, never in my wildest dreams, that I imagined that I would have the opportunities that I had today. All I did, you guys, was I kept moving. I kept working. I kept doing the work. I kept showing up. And some of you right now are wanting to give up. Some of you right now are wanting to, oh, this isn't worth it. I'm going to go somewhere else and do this. You know, nobody wants to work with me. Oh, I can't recruit anybody. Oh, I can't. I mean, are you building relationships? Are you doing the work? There's a great book out there called 3 Feet from Gold. And have you read that book, Frank?
I've heard of it, but I've never read it.
Okay, I'm going to send it to you today. It's a short book. You can read it in like 30 minutes.
Okay.
I encourage you guys to get that book because it tells the story of the gold rush, right? When we had the gold rush back in the, whatever it was, 1800s in California. And this crew came out and they're like, gonna find gold. They spend all this money. They do all this work, digging these tunnels, you know, chipping away, doing all the stuff they need to get from gold. And they've been doing it for a while. And finally they're like, this isn't worth it. We're going to give up. Nah, we're going to go back. They pack up their stuff. They sell their equipment to some guy who was standing there who says, oh yeah, I'll take the equipment. They might have even given it to him because they were so frustrated. They leave. The new guy starts with the equipment. He starts chipping away. 3 feet, he strikes gold. They were 3 feet from gold and they gave up. You can get it on Amazon, you guys. It's on Amazon. It's called 3 Feet from Gold. Let me see if I can find the link. But that's the thing, is that how many of you are 3 feet from gold? How many of you are ready to give up and you don't want to do the work and you're tired and you're exhausted and you're burned out? Trust me, I know 30 years, I could be burned out. But at the end of the day, we are in an industry that has such incredible opportunity for everybody and anybody, right? Hey, Norma, could you post that link? Did you find it on Amazon? We post the link in the chat. So the thing is that you have so much opportunity. All you have to do is do the work. All you have to do is get up. If you're having a pity party day, and trust me, we all have them. Frank and I have them. Sometimes I call him, I'm having a pity party. He goes, okay, you got 2 minutes, right? And you have your little pity party. Get it out of your head. Change the music. Change the radio station. Put on music that makes you dance and laugh and have fun. Pick up the phone and call somebody and listen to what's going on in their life, because odds are they probably got something might be a little worse off than you. So that's the kind of thing that you have to think about, is it will take for you to change the trajectory of your life. It starts with you, and it starts with that one thought. It starts with that one song. It starts with that one thing that drives you. And if you don't know what that is, then you got to sit quietly for a bit until you figure out what it is.
Marguerite, I
Yes.
think I could listen to you for hours about telling your story. Now, most of the folks here look at you as very, very successful, and you're making a ton of money in your business and in your rev share. But has all the drama stopped in your life?
No, that we have speed bumps just like everybody else, right? Stuff happens every day. Like I said,
Yeah.
yesterday I had a Monday. I mean, a Monday from hell. And the Monday is the thing is that those kinds of things happen every day to people.
Yeah.
And it's really a matter of how you handle it and how you deal with it. Again, you have the choice. You can stop and you can continue to bitch about it. You can let it consume your day. You can let it consume your life and consume the people around you, or you can get up and get out. You guys, I remember 2008, toughest market in history, right? People were losing their homes left and right. It was horrible. I was getting pretty severely depressed. We were months from bankruptcy. I mean, we literally had to file bankruptcy in 2008. And I'm thinking, I don't even know I'm going to go get a job at Taco Bell. Like, at least there, maybe I won't have stress, right? You think they don't have stress at Taco Bell? They have stress at Taco Bell. So the reality is that I got a call from a friend who had a BNI group, and they had an opening for a real estate agent, which rarely happens, right? There's never openings for real estate agents. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do any morning. Not a morning person. I'm not doing breakfast. I was like, want. They're like, no, it's a lunch. It's a lunchtime. You can do it at lunch. And by the way, they're interviewing 4 real estate agents. I was like, all of a sudden, when they said there were 4 agents, now the competitive side in me said, well, now I have to go win, right? Like, that's just how it is. So I went to the interview. I won the interview. What that BNI group did for me was a game changer, because what it did is it forced me every Wednesday to get up, get dressed, put my makeup on, do my hair, take a shower, and go to the luncheon. So if you're in this depressed pity party and you don't know what to do, make appointments for yourself. Make an appointment with Frank, make an appointment with me, make an appointment with a title and escrow person or a lender or escrow, whatever. Get in your calendar right now and block out times to make appointments, to go meet with agents. Go get to know them. Not there to EXP throw up on them. Get to know them. See how you can help them. What can you do to help them? You know the famous quote, you help enough people get what they want, you'll get everything you want. So whatever that takes to get up and get out of your house. We've lived in our houses long enough from all the COVID stuff and all that junk. We've all become like these recluses, but we're in a relationship business, which means you have to get up and get out. What can you do today to book appointments? Go to your local association meetings if you haven't been to them in a while. Attend a live event somewhere. Anything you can do. Get an accountability partner. Somebody who says, hey, I'll meet you there, right? Get somebody who says, hey, if you don't show up, I'm calling you. Like Frank texts me when I don't show up to our accountability groups, or I text him, I'm like, where are you? Right? That's the kind of stuff you need to do. And that's what can change for you. We all have challenges, you guys. We all have speed bumps. If you were to follow me around all day with a video camera, you wouldn't see this happy, smiling, shining face all day. I have my moments. The difference between me and others many times is I don't let those moments take me down. I don't let those moments stop me. I have my moment, then I get over it and I move on. And that's what has to be so important. We're in an amazing industry. You guys, I barely graduated high school by the skin of my teeth. What else can I do? I make extraordinary money in real estate. I have extraordinary opportunity. I've been able to help thousands of people with their real estate needs. I've been able to help them change their lives. Oh, I didn't know any of that. I just got up and did the work. So are
For
you
some of you
getting up
coming
and doing
on,
the work?
for
What?
some of you coming on and thought this was a tech class, this is the reason that I wanted to have Marguerite on, because everybody needs to listen to Marguerite's story, because right now you're feeling less than. And let me tell you, we're all like that. That's the one thing that we all have in common. Is there, in our closing minutes, is there anybody out there that has a question for Marguerite?
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Margarita, this is Ralph Payne. How are you doing?
Hi, good.
My picture's all messed up.
That's all
Anyway,
right.
yeah. So when you said that you changed from your brokerage to going to, to EXP, and you changed from so many agents to EXP, what was it that you noticed that, because talking to other brokers and things like that, I'm just trying to put two and two together. What is it that you noticed was the difference between you trying to do it yourself and having a building and then coming onto EXP? Do you still have a building, or do you still have a place for agents? Because I'm in a position where I am transferring. I'm scaling. I'm doing a transfer from having a place of business to going to another place of business. And what did you notice the difference from having your own to with EXP, and how did that benefit you both ways?
Well, a few things. The difference between having my own brokerage and joining EXP was taking my business and 100 timesing it. Because having my own brokerage in a small area, I had agents, but I could only bring on agents in my backyard. If I wanted to bring on an agent in Nevada, for example, I would have had to go to Nevada, get licensed, open a physical office, and do all the work required there to bring on agents in Nevada. With EXP, we're one brokerage. We're one independent brokerage. I can bring on people anywhere in the country. I had relationships from all over the country, so that was a huge benefit for me. The other thing is that when I had my own brokerage as an independent brokerage, I couldn't go to like a team leader at Keller Williams and ask them for help on how to do something, right? I couldn't say, hey, I'm struggling with this with my agents. What can I do? Because those
Right.
guys would come steal all my agents, right? So
Yeah.
now I can actually have the opportunity to talk to extraordinary leaders far outside my backyard. I mean, we have great leaders in our own backyard, but I mean, to be able to spend time with some of these people like Elizabeth Riley out of, Austin, Texas, and Renee Funk. And I mean, these are extraordinary, extraordinary human beings and producers that are willing to take my call and willing to have a conversation with me. I never had that. And honestly, I looked at it because I was like, oh, well, why would I join EXP? I get 100%. Well, let me explain it to you this way. When I joined EXP, I paid a $16,000 cap, just like all of you did. My first year in revenue share, I received $43,000 back.
Wow.
I'll take that investment all day long. That didn't even include stock. I've now been here over 7 years. I've earned over $1.1 million in revenue share over 7 years. 1.1.
That's awesome.
Now,
Yeah.
how does that compare to my brokerage? My brokerage, I was losing money every single month. My commissions were going to make sure I had coffee in the coffee pots for agents to sit around and drink and do nothing around, or to run 1,000 copies on a screwed up flyer, right? Or, I had a 3 offices, 6,000 square feet, and I'd have 3 agents hanging out there on a given day. It didn't make sense. I was spending thousands. My overhead was over $100,000 a month to run a brokerage with 120 agents. So these guys, you guys, I'm telling you, these brokers are dying on the vine. The only reason they won't come to EXP is ego. It's all 100% ego. They won't take the time and look at it. They think they know better, just like all the real estate agents out there think they got a better mousetrap. And the reality is, at the end of the day, the best decision I made. I mean, like I said earlier, if this didn't make sense for me, I'd bounce. I could bounce tomorrow and have my own brokerage set up within 24 hours. This makes sense on every single level. The fact that I'm here to speak for Frank to your group, he has no vested interest in me or him. I'm not in his downline. He's not in mine, but he's my friend and he's at EXP and we all rise together. So you were motivated to help each other. And that, I think, is what is the game changer in this business. It's the game changer. And I wouldn't go back to having my own brokerage again for nothing. Those guys are dying. They cannot keep up with what is going on. They don't have the money and the resources to keep up with the technology and, the contract issues and, all the ways that things are changing. It's a challenge. Some are doing it, but yeah.
Marguerite, before we end this, could you please put your phone number in case anybody wants to reach out to you to ask you any questions? Because That's just the way you are. And I would love for you to do that.
So today and tomorrow I'm in a business networking event. So if I text might be better, but if I don't get back to you, I'll call you later in the evening. So yeah, if you guys have any questions and if you ever need any help with anything, please reach out. Like, don't let any of these speed bumps slow you down. Think about that 17-year-old that's in a hot rod that hits a speed bump. What do? They go, I'm amusing myself. Sorry.
And just for the record, I'm going to end with this. Marguerite's favorite quote, she cleaned it up a lot. She's always taught me, you are getting paid in direct proportion to how you figure shit out. That's her
100%.
exact quote.
Yep.
And that's perfect. So,
Yep.
Marguerite, love you. Go do your
Love you.
day. Thank you.
Thank you, Marguerite. You are
Thank
awesome.
you
You
so much.
TikToks. Thank you for
Thank
having
Thank
us
you.
on.
Amazing, amazing.
Great day, great way to
Amazing.
start the day. All this love. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Have a great
Bye.
day, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great day.